Thank you all for coming and supporting Chad. We so proud for him to step up to the plate and try to take control of our messed up state, to say the least. I want to start off by telling you a little bit about me becoming sheriff and my relationship with Chad. So 58 counties in the state of California, 58 sheriffs. We all meet together several times a year, talk about a lot of issues, and we have the agency heads from all throughout law enforcement come to these meetings. And here's my story about appreciating Chad. One of my first meetings there, I hate the Department of Justice, by the way, and they are not our friends anymore, and they cause us all kinds of problems. And so when we had the head of the Department of Justice, and I'll try to leave out names, but come and talk to us and try to fill us full of a bunch of fluff and a bunch of stuff that wasn't true, I was ready to lay into him, and I couldn't get my mic on fast enough because Chad clicked his mic and started laying into him. And I was like, oh, this is my guy. Right on. And so then as soon as he clicked off his mic, I clicked on mine and followed up behind him and started in on them about the injustices that they're doing to our citizens and the state of California. And so from that point on, I knew I liked Chad Bianco. And then after he actually drank with me and our wives hang out together a little bit and we got to know each other, and he's a total gun guy, total Republican, anti all the liberal philosophies that are going on, and wants to make our state what it should be and what it once was, the leader of all the states in the United States. And I'm proud to be his friend. I'm proud for him to come up here and step up and run for governor in a time that, you know, we are trying to take back our country and trying to take back our state and trying to be what we should be. So it takes a lot of gumption for somebody to do that in an unfriendly political environment. We all know that. And I'm proud to be his friend, and not only a friend, but a fellow sheriff of his. And here to introduce him is our Assemblywoman, Heather Hadwick.
Hi, my name is Heather Hadwick. Thank you all for coming. Sheriff Johnson and I wanted to make sure we were one of the first on the books to get Chad some money, because as you know, politics are very expensive in California. And so he needs fundraising. That's what we need. We need you to go home and call 5 friends and send checks, because it's a very, very expensive campaign, and we have to have some change, and we actually have momentum right now. So this is, if we were going to have a switch, this is the term to do it. So I'm very proud to introduce Chad Bianco, who I think one of your first stops was coming to the Assembly, to our caucus lunch, where we all meet as Republicans, and he came and spoke with us, and my seatmate in the Assembly is, Chad is his sheriff. So I heard all these stories, and I'm like, I already know him. Like, he's got quite the presence on TikTok and Instagram, and because I spent 5 years at Modoc County Sheriff's Office, so I was the PIO and OES director, and had to follow all of the other sheriff's offices. So you know who does it right and who has that big voice. And that's exactly what we need down there. And my favorite thing about him is he is one of us. And that's what we need in there. We need some change, and we need real people that are going to help make good decisions for California. So please welcome Sheriff Chad Bianco.
So thank you all for coming, and thanks for the great introductions from both of you. I appreciate it. I guess the funny thing is it's unique for me to go to all across the state and start talking to people. I did it a little bit last year, I'll get into that, but it's easy for me in Riverside because everybody knows me, and in a countywide election, I routinely get told by all of the politicians in my county that I am the most popular, the most well-liked politician that Riverside County has ever had. And the funny thing about that is that people don't realize is Riverside County is predominantly Democrat. We're a Democrat county. I have a 4-1 Democrat board, and I have like a 70, like the highest is 88% approval rating and yes votes in areas of my county. So it has nothing to do with being Republican or not Democrat or Democrat, whatever it is. It's actually doing the right thing for the right reasons for the people rather than yourself. So that's really why it makes it easy for me to go talk to people in Riverside, because everybody knows me and everybody likes me. And when I go out everywhere else, it's like, I look around the room and it's like, I wonder who the enemies are. But I'm guessing just by being up here, there are few and far enemies in between all of the people that think actually normal, considering what the majority of Sacramento is thinking and where they're sending us. So for this, because I know you have absolutely no idea who I am for the most part, or from TikTok or Instagram, that's mostly real. I try and keep it as real as I can, but it's still, you do some things for entertainment value too. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit briefly about myself, a little bit about the Sheriff's Office, because my Sheriff's Office is important. My background in the Sheriff's Office is important for what I want to do and the ability of me doing it and what I've done for Riverside County. And then basically why I'm doing this, and then how we're going to make everything better for all of us. I'm guessing that since you're all here in an election of somebody that's kind of like trying to be the governor and opposing what's going on, I'm guessing most of you are all very happy with what's happening in California, and you don't want any changes, and we'll just keep going with the status quo. That's what I thought. So anyway, my name is Chad Bianco, and I'm the sheriff of Riverside County. Riverside County is in Southern California. I am, the sheriff's office anyway, is the second largest sheriff's office in the state, and we are the 4th largest in the country. I have 4,500 employees. I have 17 contract cities that we contract services with. I have 13 sheriff stations, 16 courthouses, 5 jails with roughly about 4,800 inmates, and I have a budget of $1.2 billion. So it's an extremely large operation, and I have to tell you, it is far better run now than it was 7 years ago when I took over. When I took over, my mission and my campaign platform was we were not doing anything near of what we should be doing for the service that we were supposed to be providing. And what we were doing, we were wasting so much money, it should have been criminal. And I actually said those things during my campaign. I got a lot of heat for it from the press and from other politicians that no one wanted to be outed for wasting taxpayer money. But I will tell you this, I could have started right here, is me as a person, coming from my soul. I am a God-fearing, freedom-loving, patriotic American that absolutely believes in my Constitution, and that the people that wrote that thing and lived that thing were far more intelligent and caring about America than our government is today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm also, being a very, very fiscally conservative Republican, I don't necessarily like paying my taxes. And it's not so much that I don't like paying taxes, it's I absolutely despise where they are spent, how they are spent, and where the money is wasted. So one of the platforms was that I would run the most efficient sheriff's office that we have ever had, and that I would make many, many, many fiscal changes. So I go into my board, I met with every single one of my board members right off of the bat, and I told them, you have to take my word for it, but I am going to save this county tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'm not giving it back to you, because I know you are all going to waste it. And if I am able to save that money, you need to allow me to keep it. Well, none of them thought I could do it. And so they said, sure, you can keep it. So in the last 6 years, we've saved about $110 million from our county that I haven't had to ask for, and they've had to allow me to keep it. Because if you don't know how county government works, and I'm going to assume that you're the same as my county government, is they give me a budget for whatever, for the year. If I don't spend it all, I don't get to keep it. It goes back to the county, and then the county puts it wherever it is that they want. Normally it fills the gaps from all of the departments that don't want to save money. That money just gets spent. But at the end of the year, the idea is to go down to zero. You don't save money, you go to zero, and then you start it all over again the next year. So in those years that I was saving $10 million, $15 million, $25 million, $35 million, I was able to buy the absolute best equipment and technology that law enforcement has to offer. And so that's what my deputies operate with now. We have all new vehicles, we have all new weapon systems, we have all new safety equipment, we have all new radio systems, and it's top of the line. There is no better technology than what we have. And it was all because of the over $100 million that I was able to save, not just by making changes within our organization, how we did things, but I actually found loopholes in county government and in state government that allowed me to do things legally where I didn't have to go through the wasting process that county normally is, that government normally is. For instance, a $650 toilet seat that we've all heard that's how government works. That is real. It really is like that. And I was able to bypass those things to the point now where other departments, the building department, the DA's office, everything else that we have in our county government is coming to the sheriff's office, to our project management office, for us to run their projects because we are doing it so much more efficiently than everyone else. And so the only reason I'm telling you that is that's a $1.2 billion budget. And it's certainly a lot of money. It's nothing like the overall budget for the state. But it's going to be the same mentality that all I do is expand to a bigger stage in Sacramento. It's the same mentality of, it is your money, it's not my money. It's your money, and we're going to do everything we can to do it right and to spend it right. So that's basically who I am as a person, other than that's my day job. My real person is, she just walked away, I don't know where she went. Denise, did she seriously leave? Okay, I'll get her when she comes back. So Denise, I am married, I have 4 kids, 4 grandkids, and that is truly my life, and then I have a day job. So why do I want to be the governor? Why am I doing this? It's truly for them, but at the same time, it's for all of you. It's for all of you, it's for all of your kids, and it's for all of your grandkids, because I can guarantee you, all of you, at one day or one moment or even maybe currently, have decided or are trying to decide whether or not you're going to stay in California or leave. We all have friends and family members that are leaving. We all have businesses that we know are closing. We all have coworkers that are going somewhere else. We all have kids with kids who are taking their kids to other states because they cannot have them in California education system. They want them to grow up in a better education environment. So all of those reasons is truly what has brought me here today on why I'm doing this and why I think things are going to be different. And so a year and a half ago, is everybody in here aware of Prop 36? Okay, so Prop 36, thank you all for voting for it. I hope you, if you didn't even look into it, I hope you just listened to your sheriff and did what he told you to do, because that's what we should do anyway when it comes to public safety. And because of Prop 36 being on the ballot, the DAs, all of our DAs are who came up with that. They come up with the idea, they come up with the plan, they came up with the proposition, but then we had to sell it. And they asked me to be the face of law enforcement and the voice of law enforcement and travel the state and talk to people to convince them that they had to vote for Prop 36. So during that process, learning about all of the different places that I was going to, that everyone is experiencing the same problems, not just with crime, but businesses and schools and the environment that we were living in, all of us have the same issues. And it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. We all have the same issues. There are actually Democrats that own businesses that can no longer operate their business. There are Democrats that have kids that are in schools that don't believe in the garbage that's being pushed into our kids and the secrets being kept from parents by teachers. The majority of people don't believe that, but the state is saying otherwise, and the government is saying otherwise. So as I'm traveling around and talking about Prop 36 and how things are going with public safety, the realization that we as the sheriffs know is public safety touches everything. If you own a business, more than likely, we have a relationship with you because we're trying to keep your business afloat and not destroyed by theft. If you're a farmer, we have to keep your equipment from being stolen or find it when it gets stolen. We have to keep, if you want electricity, we have to find the people or catch the people or prevent them from stealing our wires that give us telephone service, TV service, or anything else. Electricity service. Theft and crime affects really everything. It affects our school system. If you're a teacher and they're kicking deputies out of schools or police officers out of schools, they don't want us there anymore because they're saying we're the problem. There are so many things that are happening, so many things that are going bad, and we talk about it every 3 months or 2 months when we meet, we're all experiencing the same issues. And so with Prop 36, there was unfortunately too many legislators that I was dealing with and other officials in the state that were saying, you need to run for governor. You need to run for governor. I was like, well, no, I don't want to run for governor. I have the most perfect job I could ever want. I live in a great county. I have great employees. They love me. We have the perfect life there. Why would I want to do this? And in the end, because of Prop 36 and how things were going, we realized that our neighbors next door in Nevada 3 years ago did the exact same thing. Nevada used to be a red state, and it turned blue because they're about 10, 15 years behind us. Our horrible policies moved into Nevada and turned them blue. 3 years ago, a very popular sheriff from Las Vegas ran for governor against an extremely popular Democrat governor incumbent. And he ran on a public safety platform of crime destroying the state, crazy laws being made and everything else. And he won handily. And so that team, who obviously has connections to California, pretty much ganged up on me with the legislatures around our state and everyone else and said, you need to do this. We can make this happen here. There is a pendulum swing that is happening, and we can make a difference in California, and we can change. We can get a Republican elected as governor. And so in the end, with the success of Prop 36, absolutely. With the end of Prop 36, that's what really made me decide to do this and made me decide that this was going to be the time that we could make it happen. This was going to be the time. The pendulum has swung back, and we can make sure that a governor wins this election. So now, not only are we going to elect a governor Republican, I'm telling all of you, it has to be me. It can't just be any governor, any Republican. We're going to seriously ride the coattails of the wave of public safety. Public safety touches everything. And this is a little bit corny, but I'm gonna let Mike use this from here on out. We have gotten so bad in this state, in every aspect of our state, that only the sheriff can save us now. You guys were supposed to laugh.
That's kind of what it said. Denise came back in.
Oh, thank you, Denise. Thank you for coming back in. So everyone,
I forgot to laugh, but I'll laugh.
yeah, that's my wife, Denise.
Not a girl.
So here's the thing about California. We could go around the room and every single one of us could come up with a problem in California. Most of them will be the same. We could probably come up with a top list of 10. If we stayed here long enough, we could come up with a top list of 100. There aren't too many good things happening in California right now. If you are a business owner, how many business owners in here? Quite a few, very good. So I'm sure you're perfectly happy with California. They make it very easy to run your business. They make it very easy for you to expand your business and get more employees, and the cost of goods, I'm sure, are going down, right? Yeah. So California is the least business-friendly state in the country. It doesn't make any sense. Absolutely no sense. If you're an employee, if you're a worker, if you're just a hard-working Californian, are you happy with it here? You're paying the highest cost of living than anywhere else in the country. The business owners didn't do it to you. You didn't do it to yourself. Farmers in here? Are there any farmers? A lot of farmers, probably, yes. Very good. The farmers didn't do it to us. How about school teachers? School teachers too? Are you a school teacher and a farmer?
Yeah, I am.
Very good. Our school teachers didn't do it to us. We have fantastic school teachers, we have fantastic farmers, we have fantastic business owners and businesses in this state. Our employees are fantastic. Californians are very resilient, efficient, and a great population. They aren't the problem. It's our government. Our government is squeezing everyone out. It's an unquenchable thirst for your money that causes high taxes, and it causes, the taxes got so bad that the legislature realized they can't keep calling them taxes anymore, so they just call them fees. They call them regulations that's just generating more money. Because they don't want to say we have a spending problem, they just want to say we have a money problem, we need more revenue, generate more revenue. Well, the only way they do that is they take it from us. I'm going to tell you right now, this is, how many people in here follow me on social media? Good. So without saying it, because I'm going to tell the story, but how many saw my video, the last one I did about taxes? Several, okay. So this is what I'm telling you. I'm going to get into that video, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is why we are in this position that we're in, and what I am offering, and why when you look at this ballot, I will be the only person on this ballot that not only has the resume to do it, but the ability to do it. So the government as a whole, we're pretty much all of us are elected, and then we have staffers that are below us. But our government representatives are who we put in office to manage us and to take care of us. Here's the problem with elections. And current elected officials, I know there are some of them in here. I don't know any of you, so I can't tell you it was you, but I'm going to talk about governors. I'm going to talk about some of the prominent state senators we have and everything else. We don't elect leaders. We elect people that we like. We elect people that their names sound well. It sounds good saying their name. It flows okay. But we don't look for leaders with character. And the unfortunate thing is we put somebody into a leadership role that has no ability to be a leader, and then they fail. That's the problem that we're at. So leadership ability. There's many things that I'm going to tell you why I'm a leader, but this whole tax thing is, I do things that on social media because I just want to, and I like social media, and it's a good way to express myself. But for this campaign, social media is a big part of campaigning. And so I started doing, months and months and months back, I started doing these videos where when I drive in my car, Riverside County is enormous. It takes me almost 4 hours, 4.5 hours, sometimes 5 in traffic to get from one end of my county to the next. The county is huge. So as I'm driving, I have a lot of free time. And so inside your head is bad. For 3 or 4 hours with nothing to save you, it's kind of bad sometimes. So I started doing these videos. I would just be going crazy, and so I have my phone. I'd stick it on there. I'd hit record, and I'd just start talking. And I would come up with all of these things that are wrong, and I'd start telling you the things that government are doing wrong and how we should fix it, and public safety issues that are happening in Sacramento that are bad, and we need to fix it. Well, those videos started going viral. And so our Democrats in the state started copying me and doing those same videos. And it became funny. But I was like, okay, well, I can't do that anymore. What am I going to do? So I decided to do one on horseback. So I got on my horse and I went out and I did a video on horseback. So the video was another one that went viral. But this is one of my promises that I will make sure of by the time I am done being your governor twice, because you're going to elect me twice, and I will do 2 terms. By the end of that second term, there will no longer be a state income tax in California. There are 10 states in the country that do not tax their residents. Why are we not one of them? I guarantee you all say that California is the best state in the country. We're the 4th largest economy in the world. Why are we taking more money from all of us than anyone else in the country? It makes absolutely no sense. If we make this a business-friendly environment where we reduce the regulations on your businesses, we reduce the taxes that you're paying in your businesses, more businesses will come into California, bringing more workers into California, and that stimulates our economy. That's what we need to do. That is what I am promising you as your governor, is making your businesses, your business environment, your work environment and our tax environment Californian friendly. Not California government friendly, Californian friendly. Because it is us that makes this state great, not the government. We need to make sure that the government gets out of the way, and that's what I am going to go in there to do. We absolutely must cut government waste. You all can help me, because I need a different name than Doge, because Doge is now a trigger word. We need to come up with something else, but the concept behind it, it absolutely has to happen. There are billions, probably hundreds of billions. We know there's $24 billion missing that was supposed to go to homelessness. We have triple the homelessness that we had when they started spending this money. It's absolute government waste. And more than likely, fraud, embezzlement, misappropriation, and those types of things. So who better to send someone else to fix it than someone with a law enforcement background that will hold people accountable to that? That's what I can offer you. The same thing that I did for Riverside County, I am going to do the same thing in the state. I didn't mention this earlier, but I will tell you this. I'm a father of three boys and a girl. I was a high school coach of middle school and high school, of girls and boys. Boys do not belong in girls' sports. Boys do not belong in girls' restrooms or locker rooms. And I can promise you, as your governor, this garbage that we are dealing with all of this happening that we see on the news every single day, I will protect your daughters. I will protect your sons. I will make sure that the learning environment, the school, is a learning environment and not some crazy, whacked out indoctrination camp to a political ideology. That's what we are supposed to do for our kids. And as adults right now, we're failing our kids. We're failing our kids in our educational system, that only 30%, 35%, depending on what it is, are functional in a grade level at math, history, and reading. That's embarrassing as adults that we are failing our generation of kids. And it's government's fault. We absolutely must take back the sanity in government and make things better for all Californians. This is going to be not an easy task. And I will tell you this, there are a lot of people out there, and I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of questions. Well, how are you going to do this? Why are you, how can you make that happen? Why aren't they doing it already? How are you going to work with a Democrat-controlled legislature? For 32 years, I have answered 911 calls and gone out to someone's emergency. I have spent 2 or 3 minutes trying to figure out what it is, the next 10 minutes, 30 minutes solving that emergency, just so I could move on to the next emergency. I don't want to say that law enforcement is any better than anyone else or any other person, but I will tell you this, I have 32 years of training on how to solve emergencies. That is my life, to the point where my family, when I go home to their emergency, it's like, really? That's the emergency? That's not an emergency. And we just fix it. So for 32 years, I am a problem solver. I was trained to be a problem solver. So when you say, how are you going to do it? How are you going to lower taxes? Well, I'm just going to do it. There's a problem. I'm going to go in, tackle it, fix it, and I don't know how it's going to happen because we're all people and there's no way to know how it's going to work. So if I try and spell something out to you, then you're just, well, that won't work. Well, that's because I had to veer off and make a change. And a perfect example, I was talking to a Democrat legislature on the phone, and we were talking about this whole tax thing, and he's saying, well, how are you going to do it? I want to know how. Well, I drive a cop car, and so I'm listening to the radio. And on the radio comes across the dispatcher saying that there is a domestic violence call, and a man has his wife at gunpoint. They're up in the upstairs bedroom, and anyone comes to help, he's going to kill his wife, and he's going to kill the deputies that show up. And this comes over the radio, and this guy on the phone, he's like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, well, how are you going to fix that? How are you going to solve that? How are you going to rescue her? And I'm like, I don't know, I'll let you know when I get there. When we get there, we're either going to kill him, or we're going to talk him out of coming out. And I don't know how it's going to happen, but we're going to fix that emergency. And he, afterward, I ended up calling him back, and I actually changed his mind. And he said, I've never thought of it like that. He said, so, and he even said, okay, you don't have to tell me how you're going to do it. I just know you're going to do it. I'm just a problem solver, and that's what we're going to take into this. How are you going to lower taxes? I'm going to do it. How are you going to take away the business regulations that keep destroying us? The water regulations that stop you from getting water? A stroke of a pen, because it's not a law that is stopping you from getting the water that we have. It is a government regulation. I was talking to someone earlier tonight, and if you want to control people, you have to control their water and their food. If you want to control their food, control their water. And that's what we have in California. Water is a business. Water is control. Water is keeping you from expanding your farm if that's what you want to do. Water is keeping you from providing more food to the public, so we have to buy it from somewhere else. It truly is about control. It's about government revenue. How can I regulate it to get more money from you so we can spend it at other places in the state? I know Riverside County is a microcosm of truly the state. We have every single aspect of the public that every other place has. We have farming, we have ranching, we have cities, we have rural areas, everything there. So I know the issues. I have the same farming issues of not being able to get water, even though they know there's tons of water. We have a water management problem. We have a water control problem. We don't have a water problem. And I know that our farmers in this state are one of the largest suppliers of food for the entire country. Why aren't we the largest? Because our California government has prevented it from happening. I will allow it to happen. Gas. Is anybody happy paying $6 a gallon for gas and it's going up to $8? When you can go across the border to Nevada or Arizona and pay $2 less per gallon? That doesn't make any sense. Does everyone here, you're a little bit further north, the mid part of the state knows 100%. Kern County has more oil than Texas. More oil than Texas. Gasoline in Texas is $2.40 a gallon. Unreal. It is 100% government imposed. We import 75% of our oil into this state to make gasoline instead of getting it from here where we have it. That's why our gas is so high. So when the governor tells you that it's the gas station price gouging you, he's an absolute liar. Absolute liar. It is government imposed regulations, not laws, that are driving the price of gas high. And on day one, those regulations will be gone. The regulations are only meant to get more money for an out-of-control government, and they will be gone. Taxes will be lowered, regulations removed, water supply. We have to start saving the water that God gives us in these beautiful mountains. There has to be more reservoirs in the south part of the state. Instead of sending the water south and eventually into the ocean or down the other way into the Salton Sea, we have to start saving it along the way. So when we do have years where we don't get enough snowpack or we don't get enough rain, we're not down to 18% supply. You're not being allocated 15% of the water that you should be getting. You're not losing half of your crops. Californians need to take back California. I am offering you myself, sacrificing myself, and I know it sounds crazy, but I don't want this job. I need this job to be able to save and help all of us. I will give up my perfect life in Riverside. I will I'm actually thinking of maybe relocating the state capital to Riverside so I don't have to commute. But for the
you
next,
can have that 9th floor in Sacramento.
yeah, we might. For the next 13 months before the primary and 18 months before the general election, I am sacrificing and giving absolutely everything of myself to make sure I win this election. My department, my deputies, all want this so bad, they don't care anymore that I'm not there. They know I'm a phone call away. My staff is making sure that everything is covered there because they know how important it is that we take our state back, and we have to do it in this next election. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in 2026. And if it doesn't happen in 2026, after this is all over, we can all sit and talk about which state we're moving to. We have to take care of our state. We have to take it back. Now, Heather kind of mentioned, and this is the hardest part about campaigns. Campaigns absolutely take a ton of money. The thing that I can promise you is that money that you give, I'm giving you of my time, I'm giving you of my family, sacrificing all of those things, of my personal time and effort in exchange, so you don't have to do it. I'm asking for your money. The money goes strictly to the campaign. You're not giving the money to me. You're making an investment in making California better again, in saving our state. If you paid any attention to the last elections, the cost of what they were spending on the campaigns, it was enormous. And the cost is for the things that you get in the mail, for the cost of social media, for the radio advertisements, for the television ads, and all of those things, because we have to educate not only the voters, but what we are going to be concentrating on are the non-voters. We have to convince people that you absolutely must vote. The days of my vote doesn't matter have to be over. Because when you say my vote doesn't matter, that just means you're not voting. You think it doesn't matter, so you don't vote. And the only vote that really truly doesn't matter is one that's not given. We have to take it back. We have to take personal responsibility that it's our fault and we are now going to make things right. And then here's something else with money, whether it's $5, if that's all you can afford, $5, that's great. If you're fortunate enough that you can max out and it's $39,200, just in case you're waiting to write that check, don't forget the 200. $39,200 is the maximum. If you're fortunate enough to be able to do that, please do that. Because no matter what denomination of money you donate, you are now personally involved and vested in this campaign, and I guarantee you, you're going to try harder to convince everyone else around you to make sure you vote for me in the right direction, in making sure that this state is different. So I'm asking you all to do that. It's going to take a huge effort from all of us, and we can make this happen. There are so many things that it would take me forever to tell you all the things that I'm going to change. I love writing my name, so signing my name on all of those things to make all these changes is going to be like heaven. It's like, oh, farmers want this. Yes. Oh, I can take away the gas tax. Yes, I'm sick of paying $6, $7 for gas. All of those things can be made easier. Does the Coastal Commission affect anyone in here? Anyone in this far it does? CEQA, how about CEQA? Okay, well I'll promise you, those two, gone. Absolutely gone. We will not have either one of those anymore. Those are nothing but special interests that are ruining the lives of the rest of Californians, where humans are being sacrificed for weeds and for bugs and for fish that, quite honestly, we don't care if they're here. It doesn't matter that they're here. You've never seen one anyway, and you probably never will. We have to start caring about Californians, and Californians are more important than special interests. And that's what I'm promising you when I get in there. I'm going to go in there with a wrecking ball, and I'm going to make sure that I hold all of those people accountable and make sure that they're representing you. And then one thing just to close, this is what I will promise with bills. There may be exceptions, there may be some times where it affects everybody. But for instance, I will not sign a bill that has something to do with farming in, we'll say Merced. Merced is not Merced, Monterey. Monterey is a major farming community. I will not sign a bill that affects the farmers in Monterey if it was not a Monterey legislature that brought that bill forward. It makes absolutely no sense that your life up here is being controlled by a legislator that lives in the concrete streets of Los Angeles. Absolutely no sense. And we will bring common sense and we will bring realism back to our state government so all of us benefit for it. So thank you all for coming tonight. I'm going to go to questions if you have questions. Thank you all for coming tonight, and hopefully not every hand goes up at once.
When it comes to regulations, we all know that that's like, just destroys lives. I mean, just regulate this, regulate that, regulate this. How easy is it to go in there as a governor and stop that?
Stroke of a pen. The regulations are all made by boards appointed by the governor. And those boards, we have just allowed, and I said this earlier too, good people, good hardworking people just go on about their business. They try and do everything they can for their families, their homes, their jobs, their businesses, their employees, and they put kind of blinders on and just keep working through the problem. Not realizing that every single year for the last 30, 40 years, something else has been taken away from you. And now we get to the point where we truly are today, where it's like, holy crap, how did we get to this point? Well, it took 30 years of those regulations building up to this point. And none of those are law-binding. They're board-binding. They're just regulations that we abide by. I'm not telling you to stop abiding by the regulations. I'm just telling you I'm going to take away the regulations. Those boards that are making these regulations to take your money rather than make your... And I will tell you this, not all boards are bad. But if you're going to have a water board, how do you have a water board dealing with farmers with no farmers on the water board?
100%.
Yes. So we still may have them, but the regulations are going to be gone unless that water board for farmers say, hey, we need this regulation. So I will tell you this, I'm a firm believer in the environment. I believe we should be taking care of the environment. Who knows better how to take care of their farm than a farmer?
Right. 100%.
Who knows better how to take care of the forest than the people that live there that are doing the logging? But those people that have those industries, you're never a part of that board. The activists are part of the board that are taking it away from you or restricting what you're doing. It's a stroke of a pen. After the pen is done, then we can go back and we can make sure that those are taken away, codified into law and taken away with the legislature so we never have to deal with them again. If the next governor comes in and says, well, here you go again, we're going to do it. We can make it into law that we're not going to go back there.
But at the same time, you're also going to have to go and clean your own swamp. Because if California spent
I'm a good
50
cleaner.
50 years of building this swamp up.
I'm a good cleaner.
And you're going to have to work that.
It's actually going to be fun. And you're all going to watch it on social media. I love doing social media videos that embarrass people.
Awesome.
There's no way. You guys are way too easy. I'm waiting for your guys. I know what your guys is coming. I'm at least answering some easy ones before I get to yours.
I have, my son is in law enforcement, and I worry about him every day. And I want to know what you're going to do as a governor to protect my son from the criminals. He's out there trying to protect us, and it seems like our governor does not have law enforcement's back. And I want to back somebody who does. I've worked with law enforcement for almost 35 years, and I'm getting ready to retire. And I want my son to be safe. And so what will you do?
Well, not only do I want to be safe, but I want my daughter and my son-in-law to be safe also, who are deputies. So it is absolutely impossible for us to have a civilized society without a strict adherence to law and holding criminals accountable for violating that social compact of a civilized society. And we have gotten to a point now with our current direction of government led by a failed governor that believes that it's all your fault that there are criminals. They're only criminals because you're not willingly giving up your extra TVs and jewelry. And we are emboldening criminals to do more criminal actions. And when they fight with deputies or cops, or when they shoot at deputies and cops, or all of the things that they're doing to regular people and they're not held accountable, that emboldens them to do it again. And the reality is, we absolutely must punish crime. If you don't, if you're only going to spend a day in jail, and the reward was worth a day in jail, then why not go do it again? But if you're going to spend 10 years in jail, it might not be worth it anymore, and I'm not going to do that again. That's how we get back to a civilized society. When we were harsh on crime, we actually had a great California. And then 25, 30 years ago, the liberal agenda came through that reversed everything. We no longer sentence 3 strikes. We no longer hold people accountable for harming us and using a gun. The gun is not added into that. We no longer keep them in jail for their whole sentence. We lend them out as like a quarter or less of what they were sentenced to. And we've emboldened them to the point that we are today. So I will be the harshest crime governor that California has ever seen. And not because, well, I don't like crime. And I don't like the people committing crime. And it has nothing to do with them personally. It has to do with every one of you. You shouldn't have to be worried about your business broken into or your home broken into. So that harsh on crime, proactive crime approach is what we need for lawbreakers in California to stop. And if they're going to fight with a deputy or fight with a cop, whichever your son is doing, and there's a consequence, then it doesn't happen. When I was a deputy, it didn't happen because there was a severe consequence. My deputies now, it's an everyday occurrence because the consequence is less. So all I can promise you is I'm protecting my kids too. Yes, sir.
As a follow-up to what you just said, our jail is full, as many other jails are full. Governor Newsom keeps shutting down prisons. Do you see in your future that we're going to be building new prisons so we
Yes.
can hold
I have a
lawbreakers
budget
accountable?
request for Shasta County.
Very good. So the question is about shutting down prisons and full jails. Here's the reality. California keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. The reality of life and of our civilization is about 95% of us are law-abiding citizens. The 5% couldn't care less about our laws, and they are our criminals. So as your population grows, that 5% grows also. So you're growing more criminals. You're growing more people that are doing bad things and breaking the law. You have to make room for them. We have the same capacity that we had 30, 40 years ago. And when the state got sued, they screwed the counties and said, well, we don't want to build more prisons, so we're just going to let all of our state inmates go and we're going to force the counties to house them. Well, what that did for me was I'm instantly full now, and so I have to let all of the criminals out that were normally in county jail because I have to keep the more violent criminals in my county jail now. It just facilitated more crime. So if you have 5 kids and you live in a 1-bedroom apartment, if you don't want your kids all sleeping in the living room, you get a bigger house or a bigger apartment with more bedrooms. You don't get rid of your kids. But when the federal government told the state you've got too many kids in your room, instead of building more room, they got rid of the kids. And now we're all suffering for it because back when they did this, that's what started the homeless population. And then they did Prop 47, which add drugs to it, add no consequence for drugs anymore. And now we've gone so far now that are they on drugs or are they psychotic or is it a combination of both? We don't even know anymore. It's gotten so bad. So we have to change all of that. There has to be more prisons because we have more criminals. I mean, it's truly is common sense. There's the number one role of government. Number one role of government is keeping us safe. That's public safety and fire. Number 2 is infrastructure. Our waterways, our roadways, our power grid, whether or not we have electricity or not. How sad is it that the greatest state in the country can't even supply the electricity to its residents? My daughter and her son, my daughter's son-in-law and 2 grandkids, just March or something like that, moved in with us because they were out of power for 10 days, and they have a baby, and it was wintertime, it was cold. No power, they just shut it off. It makes absolutely no sense. We should be embarrassed. Our government should be embarrassed, but they're not. I would be embarrassed. I would make sure it doesn't happen.
Would some of your policy involve like taking care of CARB and their crazy mandates of like stipulating that all fleets have to be, electric now, and so you're
Yes.
putting a burden on your counties and your cities to try to, you're talking about power.
That's a stroke of a pen too.
Yeah.
CARB is
Out of
just
control,
another
right?
regulatory board, and it's a stroke of a pen. If you want an electric car, more power to you. I want my diesel truck, and I will buy a diesel truck every single time I get a new car. And if that's what you want, you should be able to. The government doesn't get to dictate technology. If in 20 years down the road, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, there are no gasoline vehicles because something better came along and it's more efficient and it's more reliable because technology took over and innovation of Americans took over and made that happen, and then the consumer base wanted it to happen, that's when it happens. Not when the government tells you it's going to happen. And me as your governor, I will tell you what you can do, not what you can't. You can do anything, almost what you want. We are not going to regulate you into failure. And that's what we're doing right now. That's why more people are leaving California than coming in.
Good words.
Yes, sir.
It's time for people to stop getting taxed on things they rightfully own. And I think it's time for property tax to die.
Yes.
What are you gonna do to stop and end, because it should be criminalized, in my opinion. You cannot tax something that somebody legally owns. What are you gonna do to address this?
That's a great question. So now you're throwing, I don't know yet for that. And the only reason being is because I took on sales tax before property tax, or income tax before property tax. So we can't eliminate all taxes.
Right.
So the difference is, and I went off of myself, I would save far more money if I didn't have to pay income tax, state income tax, than what I pay for property tax.
Right.
So there eventually there's got to be a limit, and truly, as Americans, we really don't hate paying our taxes. We hate the waste. We hate where it's being spent and how it's being spent. We know that we have to pay taxes for some services. So some taxes have to be acceptable, and I think they are. So once we get done with the government waste and the income tax, if we can lower the property tax, we can lower even sales tax, then we will. But there's a lot of things that have to be taken care of, and your income tax is more of a benefit to you than property tax. Depending on your property.
Right.
And
Right.
you can't say everyone is the same.
Well, traditionally, states that you talk about that have low state income tax or no state income tax have really high property tax.
Yeah.
You know, so-
All 10 do them different. And so that's what we're going to do. We'll take a look at all 10. We'll see how all 10 are doing it. We'll pick the best parts and the worst parts of each. We'll try and duplicate all the best, eliminate all the worst, and then California will have the best system that anyone has in the country. But there are many things that go into it. And so I would like to tell you, that's why I told you 8 years. Because I would like to say we would do it as soon as I got there. But it's going to be impossible because it's going to take a lot of effort. The Mississippi just did theirs, and it took them 6 years. So we will be able to do it, and there will be a lot to work through because of questions just like that.
Can you do on a smaller scale, of course, but in California, we buy and sell, we send our timber products out, we buy timber products, we back and forth. Can you make up a difference, like in a situation where you would, let's say, lower property tax from that? Can you make up the difference in tariffs also? with foreign countries and doing business with California?
Yes and no. Technically, states don't have the ability to regulate trade with foreign with foreign countries. So there are certain things that you can do, but that is the federal government's role. And so, like the grandstanding that Newsom's doing about, that it's impossible. He can't do that. He's just trying to make people think that he's looking out for you. Yeah, it's just talking. Go ahead.
So with that question, the state does have control over that. So I do utility consulting throughout the United States. Humboldt County, we have 2 mills up there that one does CDX plywood, another one does some other type of chipboard. But California has put so much red tape on the chemicals and the glues they use in it that they take our lumber, they grind it up, they put it on some boats right out of Eureka. It ships out 17 miles off our shore. A Chinese boat gets all that pulp. They create the plywoods, they create all these different things with the stuff, and they ship it right back to us and sell it to us. They're 17 miles off our shoreline, so it's not regulated because it's international waterways. But all the waste that we put the red tape on, with the glues and the chemicals, they wash right back to our shore.
Yeah.
So we put all these regulations on it to where it sends it out to these foreign companies right outside our shoreline.
But are those federal or all the? It's the state regulation,
The state
but it's
regulation,
the
but
federal
there's
that's
no federal.
controlling China.
But it was our
Yes.
state red tape that we
Yes.
put on it that stopped them.
Oh,
from
I get
using
you.
these
So they
chemicals.
So that's our problem here. That's one of those. I mean, you would be amazed, and so for your environment that you're intimately aware of, that I obviously am not. When I'm doing these things and talking to all these people, and I learn these crazy things that people do that only California does. I'll give you a perfect example. And so how you can make it happen, and you have to do away with the part that's making it to where you can't do it here. It's not. That's the issue. It's California doing that. It's not the trade with China and the tariffs or whatever it is. It's us forcing you to not be able to do it here and sell it.
Taping it so bad.
Yeah, there was recycling metal. This is a crazy thing. It is unbelievable how corrupt and horrible this state is for special interests. So, like landfills, if anything that goes in a landfill, they test and there's an acid, and I don't know what the acid is. It's not important. But the whole thing with lead contamination. So I'm with this recycler. He owns a recycling company. And he has a lead cup on the table. He said, this is a pure lead cup. And he said, he didn't do it, but he said, I will pour water in that and drink from it all day long. It is not going to hurt me. If I scrape it with my teeth and ingest it and those things, then maybe it will. But drinking out of a lead cup is not going to hurt me. So from all the contaminants that go into the landfills and how they are able to recycle metals, is California changed that chemical. What they do is they put lead and they subject it to a chemical, and if any of those metals or whatever it is, if too much of it leaches out, then you can't, then you have a problem. You have to clean it up. And so California discovered that if they change that chemical to citric acid instead of whatever acid it was, it absolutely dissolves lead and other metals and creates an unbelievable contamination. So the testing process of testing runoff or testing the landfills or testing anything that you're recycling, the standard in California is citric acid. It's the only place in the entire world. Everyone else, every other scientific method and everything else uses the same chemical. And because California figured that they could get more money by regulating recycles and all of these things that we do by using citric acid, because it's fake. There's no natural citric acid in the environment other than an orange. And we're not burying tons of oranges and destroying our environment. So that was a government regulation, just like you're saying with the plywood, that they have now discovered they can make more money off of that with a regulation and changing the rest of the world, how the rest of the world does things, just to make more money for government. And this is what I'm telling you. That crazy stuff has to stop. We have to start caring about our businesses and our workers and everything else, and our environment in California, instead of about how are we going to raise more money from people or take more money from people. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you spoke early on in your speech about leadership and that you're a great leader, and so I'm going to make you prove it. So I want to know, there's a rumor out there that you took a knee during the protest of BLM. I kind of would like to hear your explanation if that's true and why you did it. Do you regret it? I just want to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. So 2 things. So it's not me telling you I'm a leader. So to start with answering your question, it is law enforcement telling me I'm a leader. And I am one of the most respected law enforcement leaders in the country. Very much so in this state. And completely in my county, with whether it's my huge department or all of the local law enforcement, really in the Inland Empire, San Bernardino included, and Orange County, because we were all involved in those riots. So they're the ones telling me I'm that leader. So BLM is a domestic terrorist organization that is at direct odds with law enforcement. If I knelt for BLM, do you think I would be that national law enforcement leader, that leader of my own department that would do anything for me? Absolutely not. So at that place, so now here's the problem. So I'm going to tell you that yes, I am going to be the person to beat because California needs a leader. And so for the only way for all of the Democrats, and for unfortunately what you're talking about right now, Republicans, the only way for them to raise themselves up is to destroy me by saying, oh, he's not the leader that he's promising you. He doesn't have the integrity that he's promising you. He doesn't tell the truth all the time. And so that's what they're having to attack. So that you're talking about is being paid for by Republicans with social media influencers, with bloggers, to spread around California that you shouldn't support Bianco because you need to kneel to BLM. It didn't happen. So the reality is, I told you in the beginning, I'm a God-fearing man, and I am proud to say that, and I am not embarrassed to every one of my meetings begin with a prayer. Every one of my promotion ceremonies begin with a prayer. I am a firm believer in that. So as we were leading up to the BLM riots of 2020, we ended up having 10,000 people that were in our downtown area in front of our jail. And I had 1,000 deputies there. In the 2 days prior leading up to that, there's actually, it's legitimate. It's a protest. It didn't start as a riot. It starts as a protest. So the organizers came and met with us to go over the parameters, the guidelines, and all of those things. And they're community organizers. They know who I am too. And so when they left my office those 2 days prior, we prayed both days. So now we are at this. There are 9,000 deputies behind me. I was in front of my deputies, in front of
9,000 protesters.
10,000 protesters. You're killing me.
No,
You weren't even here paying attention
No, he
before.
said 9,000 deputies.
1,000 deputies.
1,000.
9,000.
9,000.
10,000. There were 10,000 protesters, and I had 1,000 deputies. I actually had 900 deputies, but there was about 150 other law enforcement personnel that were there, that are behind me. And we're holding the line. There's a beautiful picture that my SWAT team took from the top of my jail that has me standing in front of this line of deputies and this massive crowd in front of me. So it's coming to an end. It's starting to get violent. They're telling us where the Antifa is. They're telling us where the rocks are hidden. They're telling us where the weapons are hidden that are going to be used against us. And I told them, you got 20 minutes. We're ending this in 20 minutes, and everybody's going to leave. And so they said, thank you for doing everything that you did, letting us go past curfew, letting us do everything. Can we pray that everything ends good? I'm like, of course we can. We've been praying for the last 3 days, and it worked. So hopefully the rest of the night does. So we start to pray. Did I make a mistake? Absolutely. In this and only this. As we start to pray, one of them stops and says, and they're like, we have our arms around each other, that you're never going to see those videos. You're only going to see the video they want you to see. And he stops and says, can we kneel and pray? And I said, yes. So we went down and kneeled to pray. They left, and now I have a camera sitting in my face. And the news comes out and says, sheriff knelt for BLM, because at the time, that was the narrative. It was law enforcement had to do this because law enforcement is bad. We knew at the time it was them that are bad. We're not bad. We've never been bad. So the only thing I regret is saying that yes, I would kneel. But I kneel all the time to pray. So it wasn't abnormal. So the answer, truthfully, and this is where it comes down to it. You either believe me or you don't. And in the end, quite frankly, and this is, I'm not saying this to be rude, I really don't care if you believe me or not.
Yeah,
because in the end, I have my 1,000 deputies behind me. They know what happened.
Yep.
And that's all that matters to me. And if that happened like my enemies would like it to be, my deputies would not have been behind me for a second after that day. Because that's what happened at other agencies. And then I will tell you this. So the whole BLM thing, I absolutely despise them. From the very beginning, I was one of the most vocal people against the riots and everything that was happening. So when we ended that, the ice started coming, the water bottles, frozen water bottles. I got hit with a screwdriver that was about that long. And the bricks started coming, the rocks started coming, and so we went to work. And the direction from me from the beginning was, when this happens, there are no rules. The rules are we win. And we win at all costs. So those 10,000 people, it took us 40 minutes to get out of downtown. There were no injuries to deputies. Not in Riverside County, not one business was ever looted. No damage, no reported injuries to deputies, and no reported injuries to protesters. And the interesting thing that happened, and this is something that nobody knows and we don't really talk about, because the news said that I was actually being compassionate to the BLM, they were calling them protesters, but it was the rioters in the end, because as we're forcing them out, we were letting them have everything. We were using tear gas, we were using pepper balls, pepper spray, rubber bullets, bean bags, everything less lethal that we have, we were using. And about 20 minutes into it, we stopped. And there's this fantastic picture where we're across the street, and it's all these deputies deep, and then the intersection is empty, and the protesters are on the other side. And the news is all, oh, look how compassionate the sheriff is, and all of this stuff. The reality, we ran out of ammo. And I was in the back on the phone saying, where are the reinforcements? And we had to wait about 15 minutes for more ammo to come from one of our jails. So then we all reloaded and then continued what we were doing.
It's non-lethal ammo.
It was non-lethal. It was bean bags. It was pepper balls. It was all of the rubber bullets, the launchers that we had. But we were going to win. And in the end, I was going to protect my downtown business. And I did. And the funny thing from then is the day after, because of what we did, Los Angeles did the same thing. They had let it go so out of hand that it took them 3 days to stop their burning. Their city was burning down. And then every law enforcement agency across the state did the same thing that I did. It's like, holy crap, you just have to give them everything that you got, and they won't come back. And in Riverside County, there has been several, in the last 5 years, there have been protests that have spurred up. And we monitor all of those social media groups, the people that fund them and everything else. And there will be no groups go to Riverside to protest because they know they can't get away with anything. And they talk about it. So sometimes when you look at everything and it doesn't make sense, it probably doesn't make sense for a reason. So I know that was a long answer because it's not a short answer to give other than saying, no, I didn't, because you're going to say, well, I saw the video.
Well, personally, I haven't seen the video, I just have.
Then what'd you ask me the question for?
Chad, side note, that same thing happened here,
That's how it
and
went down already.
it was exactly almost the same way.
Where's the video?
Yeah.
Due
You
to-
don't
due
have to look for the
residents
video because people are paying
And other people.
for you to see it.
BLM didn't do very good in Reading either.
Good,
Because we were there.
good. So the funny thing is rural communities, and the song came out later.
Yep.
Try that in a small town. It doesn't happen in a small town where everybody knows each other. And unfortunately, we're not a small town. So we had to make sure that we took care of business how law enforcement should. And I did that because a couple of nights before, Denise and I are watching LA burn, and where it just hit me was the news was filming a business being looted, and they were coming out of the windows with all this stuff in their arms, and the camera pans, and there's 2 LAPD officers that were standing there, and the people just running by them, and I told my wife, that ain't happening here. That will not be my deputies on TV watching all of this happen. And so that's why I had such an overwhelming use of force, or show of force, for that event, and we took care of business how we should.
Different topic.
Good.
Spoke about small business. I'm a small business owner, and minimum wage continues to increase every year, which takes away our ability to increase wages based on merit and skill. I'm sure there's no way of coming back from that and going back down. They want minimum wage to be a living wage, which is not what it was intended to be.
Right.
It was intended to be a starting wage, so that it incentivized you to go learn a skill, get an education, and do something better. But now we're at a position where we can't hire inexperienced high schoolers, first-time workers anymore. We have to hire skilled labor that don't want to be paid minimum wage. What is the plan for that?
Unfortunately, and I could be wrong legally, and there may be a grandfather clause in there or something like that, but I don't think we can retract it.
No, I know you can't. I'm sure you can't.
It certainly is not going to be expanded upon or expanded. What business are you in? Do you mind
I
if I
own
ask?
a gym.
A gym? And you had to pay the minimum wage, or you're saying you can't hire someone to
We
work minimum
pay,
wage?
like front desk and stuff like that, minimum wage.
Yeah. Okay, so
But if we want to give raises, we don't, because we know every year it's going to be forced upon us anyways, whether they deserve it or not.
yeah. So the short answer is, it's not the government to tell you that, it's market. And before this all happened, and I'll use In-N-Out because they were a great company. They are a great company. Sorry, was that Denise? Thank you.
That was Mama, that was boss.
That's why I bring her.
That was boss.
In-N-Out was a fantastic company. My daughter started there, and they pay their employees very well.
They do.
Yeah.
And they still make a boatload of money. She's like the youngest female billionaire in the world.
Right.
But she also has the most loyal employees that you could ever imagine, because they pay them well, they treat them well, and everything else. But that's her choice, and that was In-N-Out.
And their business model's totally different.
Absolutely, 100%, absolutely. So when the government goes in and makes you pay that, and it didn't affect you, but did anybody think that raising, no, I'm sorry, for like it didn't affect you like McDonald's. It didn't affect you like the industries
So you have employees leave though, right?
that are going over there. Yes, yes. So, but I'm saying, did anybody think that when that happened, the price of a Big Mac wasn't going to go up?
Right.
Right.
That was kind of the point.
So
right?
here's
Nobody gets that.
here's the dirty little secret. I hope you didn't think that had anything to do with minimum wage. And it didn't have anything to do with a livable wage, because they couldn't care less. They said, how can we get more money?
Right.
I know how we can get more money. Sales tax will make the business pay them more, because now they're not sales tax. Payroll tax will make the business pay them more, because now they're going to pay us more money to the state because of, that's why that happened. It's evil.
Just like the state required retirement plan that you have to remember to opt out of.
Yes, it's absolutely evil how our government is
Right, but is there a
operating.
plan?
There are things that I didn't even know that I wish I wouldn't have talked to her tonight, because I didn't know how bad it actually was there.
So the state was on this program where it was supposed to, what, cap out at 18, something like that? We're at 1650. Is that gonna stop when you get into office? I know we can't go backwards, but how do we?
Yes, it certainly is going to stop. It most definitely is going to be stopped. That is what's causing our problems. So if you have something that's causing a problem, you don't allow it to keep going. If your arm is sliced, you don't just sit there and let until you bleed out. You stop it.
That's part of what's killing small business.
Yes.
Especially in Shasta County.
California government is killing small
Because
business.
Shasta County, they don't want it, you can increase your cost and say, hey, we're gonna charge this now, they don't want to. They don't get that, okay, well, we had to pay more in payroll tax, we have to pay our employees more.
Yeah.
Shasta County doesn't care. They still bitch about what you're gonna pay for your membership or your product.
One of the things that, and I know I'm going to win, but it started by saying win or lose, this is going to happen in this election. This election, the typical people who are running are going to be forced by me to deal with the truth. Because we're no longer going to listen to the BS that they want us to listen to. They're going to have to be forced to listen to the truth and to answer to the truth, and that's exactly it. California is anti-private business. The state does not want any of you owning your businesses, owning your land, anything about that. Private ownership is despised by our current leadership in government, not the ones fighting it,
Right.
by the current leadership in our government. And we absolutely, that is why you have to elect me. That is why we have to turn this ship around. Not slowly. It seriously has to be a wrecking ball. It has to be an immediate stop and immediate turnarounds. And if you all witnessed back in 2020, if you all remember, how did everything get shut down? How did our lives get forced to stop? The government declared it a state of emergency. And then he was able to do anything that he wanted.
Fear.
100% fear. But it works the other way too. Are we in a state of emergency in water? Absolutely we are. So you know what I'm going to do on day one? I'll declare a state of emergency for water, which does away with all the CEQAs, the coastal commissions and the regulations and everything else. And the federal, I will, instead of suing President Trump, I will say, Mr. President, can I please have the Army Corps of Engineers to come build me a dam?
Boom.
And they will start right then and build the dam. This isn't rocket science, people. And I know you know that, but we have to get to that truth of it. We just need somebody that cares more about Californians than special interests. And that is what I'm offering. 32 years of public service and sacrifice because I love serving other people. That's what makes me happy. I don't want to ask you for money. I don't want to ask you for the help. I mean, I'm forced to do that because of this election. I just want to help you.
Give the working people a voice.
Absolutely. Anything else? Well, thank you. Okay. Thank you very, very much for coming. I appreciate your time tonight. I am very happy to be here. If you can come see me again. We're going to make multiple stops throughout this next year and a half. Please tell your friends, please tell your family. If they want to come to the events that we have up here, we'll advertise better. We'll make sure everybody knows that it's happening. But thank you all very, very, very much.
Follow you on social media, Sheriff.
Oh yeah. Sheriff Chad Bianco on all social media. For the most part, it's not all free, but we can win this election if 10 million people are following me on social media. That's all the votes I need. It's a gimme. If 10 million people give me $1, we win this election. $5 would be better. $20.26 would be even better. But the more people we have supporting, the more people we have following, the easier it makes to spread this grassroots message to take California back for all of us. So please, Sheriff Bianco on social media, biancoforgovernor.com. You can sign up to help, you can sign up to get information, and certainly you can sign up to donate online if you don't want to donate by check. So thank you all very, very much. I truly appreciate you all coming and listening to me, and I do appreciate the questions too, so thank you.